welcome everybody to this special Township Hall meeting where we're going to be discussing the reconstruction of 24 Mile Road and I guess more importantly the Detroit Water and Sewerage Department laying of the 42-inch pipe from DeQuinder all the way to Romeo Plank. And of course you're here tonight because I'm sure you will have some questions, and we've assembled our team here that will be able to answer those questions. And I just want to thank all of you for coming here tonight. We have Mr. Steve Mancini from Rickman Construction Company. He'll probably be taking the bulk of the questions, and from what I understand, the project actually has been going relatively smoothly. Also, Mohammed Jabber from the Detroit Water and Sewerage Department, thank you for being here. And Keith Sikander from Owen Tree Service, many thanks to you. She has been our arborist, making sure that if there's any damage to trees, it's very minimum. So she's done a great job in communicating with the Board of Trustees and also working hand in hand with Rickman Construction. And of course, our engineer, Shannon Filarecki, who is from Fazal Khan and Associates. She and I probably talk every day about something, and but not too often about this project, which is kind of nice. But maybe all of you have a different opinion, and that's why you're here. So what I'm going to do now is turn it over to Mr. Mancini, and I understand you're going to give a quick update as to how the project is going to date. And then after that, we'll open it up for questions. And we have a lot of meetings going on here, so please forgive us. Our podium is downstairs being used, but we do have a cart here in case you do need that if you have a tablet or something. Mr. Mancini, I'll turn it over to you.
Thank you, Rick. Again, my name is Steve Mancini. I'm the president of Rickman, and thought I'd take a minute to update you as to where we're at on the project. We have two crews working, two mainline crews working. The first crew is, let's just say, east of Van Dyke, moving west. Second crew is west of Van Dyke, moving west. Those crews are on schedule. We're still anticipating all of the pipe installation complete by this year, by the end of December. So what will remain is some of the connections once all the testing and chlorination and those tests are all complete. We'll be making the connections to the existing 36-inch and those valves and vaults installed. That should flow into next spring. All of the bores, tunnels are complete except one. We have one remaining. That's probably one of the more disruptive, where we sometimes have to have full road closure. So that last tunnel is under the M53 highway, and I think we're anticipating to start that sometime here in June. Again, that is not a critical path item, so that won't delay the project. Paving, I anticipate to start paving at Romeo Plank. I understand that should start within the next 2 to 3 weeks. Right. So again, that's going to be full width paving. That's something that was changed, full depth, full width. And so that seems to be on schedule also. So that being said, I'm certainly happy to answer any questions. I hope we've tried to keep the complaints to a minimum. I know it's been very hectic, but so if there are some things we can do to improve, we're certainly open to do that.
Okay, if you have any questions, this would be the time to come on up. And yes, there we go.
Mancini, I've sort of watched your construction. I live just west of Shaner. When will you proceed from Shaner toward Jewel Road?
You know, I don't
that section be closed.
I don't have the schedule in front of me, but I believe we're crossing Shaner in what, 2 to 3 weeks, I thought.
Let me give you some where we're at right now in terms of linear footage. Okay, we divided this job into 7 segments. Romeo Plank all the way to Rochester Station at the east. Now, this job initially is at 35,000 linear footage, 42-inch concrete, pre-stressed concrete pipe. So far, we laid over 15,000 linear feet, or around 43–44% of the work. As I said, we divided the job into 7 segments. The first segment, Romeo Plank to Hayes. This segment has been, all the piping have been installed. Okay, and like Steve has just mentioned, paving is scheduled for the next couple of weeks, full width. The second segment going west from Hayes to Channer, and we put in 3,321 feet of piping. Okay, paving is actually scheduled for June, July of this year, in a couple of months. The segment number 5, Channer to Shelby Parkway, we have not done any piping yet. We are using screw number 1 in between Romeo Plank and Van Dyke, so we haven't gotten to segment number 5.
I guess that's my question. So, in that section number 5, do you have anticipated dates that you'll start and finish?
As we're moving on, we're actually scheduled to get it paved by September, October this year. So all pipes will be laid, and restoration and pavement, according to the schedule, should be done by September of this year.
But you don't have a start time?
I do have a start time in the schedule. Okay, so we're actually Channer to Shelby. We're scheduled to start laying pipe the first week of June.
Thank you very much.
All right.
Thank you.
My name is Sam Saloom, and I'm a business owner. I own a mobile station on 24 miles in Shelby. And I've been a businessman for 20 years, and I know construction hurts. When I close Mound to Van Dyke at 24 miles, I felt the impact of the business. And now they close Mound all the way to Shelby. It got worse. On top of that, they close Shelby all the way to DeQuinder. So now I got 3 miles of stretch is closed. We're not getting an answer why Shelby all the way to DeQuinder is closed. They said they're working under the bridge. There's complication. It should be a week. Now it's 2 weeks, 3 weeks, and 4 weeks. And we're not getting any answer. Okay, if there is a complication, if there is a priority, and if there is something, it should be a priority work. They said there is the soil or the sand soft, and they're working, but they're not working hard enough. If there is a problem, they need to open Shelby all the way to DeQuinder. Now we got DeQuinder shut down all the way to Van Dyke. What I understand is supposed to be mile by mile by mile. Now we got 3 miles shut down, and that's impacting my business a lot.
You know, I'll take a look at it. I'm not aware of 3 miles being closed.
It's from DeQuinder. Oh, yeah. See? It's from DeQuinder.
Not both traffics.
It's supposed to be, what I understood, it's a 2.5 years project.
Yeah.
And it's going to be mile by miles. And you start the project from Mount to Van Dyke back in September. And during the winter, was no work done. We had a harsh winters, and nobody worked. Why we start the project so early and the work wasn't done?
The exception of some real brutally cold days or real heavy snows, those crews have been working, and you know, quite frankly, we're on schedule.
True, but we understand it takes a 3 month per miles. Now, we got January, we'll skip January, February, you got March, April, and we're in May, and just finally open Mount to Van Dyke. It's not even paved. Not even paved. That's
Well, it's not scheduled to be paved.
I
Again,
understand.
yeah.
I understand, but that's impact my business. We got 3 miles shut down, and people, they're just tired.
Yeah, I can personally look into, I mean, there may be occasion where it's shut down for a shaft, for a tunnel, or shut down for some special piece of work. But in general, 24 Mile is open to eastbound traffic.
Not. It's completely shut down.
Yeah, and
it's
I'll look into that again.
Been shut down for about 3-4 weeks.
I'll look into that.
According to the worker, it's only going to be the eastbound open. The westbound will not be open for 6 to 8 months. That's not what it should be, mile by mile. If they work under the bridge, which is halfway by the water station, they should complete the work and open both lanes.
Yeah, and again, I can assure you that we are complying with the requirements of the contract. We're complying with the road commission. I can check on specifics, what specific shutdown you're referring to for the tunnel, but I can assure you that if there's closures, they're limited, and I will personally look into it to make sure. And again, feel free to call me, call Rick, if there's a specific shutdown that you're not aware of. I'd be happy to meet with you. You can meet with Ryan, our project manager, he's running the project. But
we don't get any answer. Nobody
I'd be
knows what's going on.
I'd be happy to make sure we get answers for you so that you're comfortable as to what the reason for the shutdown is, what the duration is.
Can we get a letter update to the
Yeah,
business
I was
owners?
just going to say, why don't we do this, everybody? So, because it looks like everybody is, by the looks of your faces, kind of has that same expression that we really need to have a better understanding of when this opens up. Why don't we put something on a website mid next week, maybe, as to what's closed, how long it'll be closed, and more importantly, when will it be open, and will it be eastbound or westbound? What will it be? I think maybe a diagram with some dates.
But how about a letter
Estimated dates.
sent to the business owners, especially to the business owners? We're the one feel impacted. A
Well-
letter, just what's going to happen. Just give us an update.
Okay, well, here's what we're going to do. We're going to give you that update on the website. We'll, if you just want to go to, let's just say by next Friday, a week from tomorrow, on the website, which is www.shelbytwp.org. Go to that website on Friday. We'll have a diagram. If that's okay with you, Steve?
Sure.
Okay, Mr. Jabbar, can you get that done? Okay, they'll get some kind of diagram done between Detroit Water Department and Rickman so that you'll have a better understanding of what's open, and more importantly, we'll have dates when these mile stretches will be open and closed. Is that what everybody's looking for? No. Okay, well, okay. Is it, sir? Is that what you're looking for?
Well, I just want to update a letter or something, or
It'll be an update.
Yes.
Okay, thank you very much.
Just to follow up. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Anybody else? Come on. Thank you.
My name is Tom Labadie, 4960 24 Mile Road. I was here at your first visit, and I was told, along with everybody else here, we would have the eastbound side open all the time. Now, I can attest to him because I live about 5 houses east of him. DeQuinder to Van Dyke is closed, period. And it has been closed. So, I know it affects his business. The 7-Eleven is dying. That's across the street from me. It affects me coming home from work. And to be honest with you, a week from Friday, we're the 21st century. We should have an answer by tomorrow noon on the website.
Yeah, and I can assure you that, there are going to, I'm not sure who promised that there would be no road closures. There are going to be times.
For 2 weeks straight now?
Yeah, there are going to be times it could be up to a month. Some of these tunnels, the shafts are so large that the entire road has to be closed.
You're working on every tunnel across those 3 miles at the same time.
No,
I'm sorry, I don't believe that.
No, there's no reason for 3 miles of full road closure, and I'll definitely look into that. We'll get an update. We'll publish it on the website.
Not a week from Friday. That's unacceptable.
Well, we'll see if we can get something sooner. Certainly, if we can get it sooner, we'll give. But we're trying to get you a full, accurate accounting of what needs to be closed, when, where, and for how long. And again, whether it's these tunnels, these shafts, whether it's these big vaults that literally take up the entire road, the shafts that it takes to put these vaults in, these valve structures. Some of these structures are probably the size of, the whole shafts are almost half the size of this room. So it's impossible to maintain traffic in those instances. So there are going to be times when there's going to be full road closures. In some of those durations, for example, when we go under the M53 expressway, that road's going to be closed for possibly 2 months. Full closure. Yeah, and I will look into that. There's no reason for, and I personally drive the project probably at least 2 to 3 times a week. So I'm not aware of that, but I will look into that and make sure that there's no full closures for any length of time.
Yes, sir. You have a question? If you want to come up. Yeah, and the only reason I ask you to come up is so everybody at home can hear you too, because if you're backing up seats, nobody can hear the question. Thanks a lot. I appreciate that. Okay.
My name is Mike Roncato, and I live in Forest Park, which is just down here west of Van Dyke, between Van Dyke and Mound. And the problem we have, and I don't know if anybody's been around there, but 24 Mile Road is a joke. I mean, it's caved in, it's fallen over, it's all dirt. Aurora Park at 25 Mile is falling in, and it's all busted up. The city's been called, the county has been called. They just threw some dirt out there. You can't even get out of our subdivision. It's a mess.
What sub is this?
Aurora Park and Forest Park. Aurora Park Drive at 24 Mile Road, you can't get out. And at 25 Mile, you rip the bottom of your car apart. It's an absolute joke. I've called the county 3 times. People have called the city. They threw some dirt in there a month and a half ago, and they got orange barrels there. It's a joke. We pay all this money in taxes, and you can barely get your car out of the subdivision. You need to drive down there and look at it.
I will.
I don't know when they're going to pave this, but they need to do something at 25 Mile Road because people are complaining all the time. People are driving over people's lawns. It's ridiculous.
I'll definitely look into it and make sure they improve it.
Thank you.
Ms. Fellarecki, you want to comment on that, Aurora Park, because I know you did some work on that. And by the way, I did take a couple calls, and you might have talked to me about that. And we got Fossil Khan Associates involved, and I know we got the county involved too. Rickman's off the hook for this particular one, but maybe we should blame him too so he can fix that. But go ahead.
The piece that we've been working with Macomb County Department of Roads on is the 25-mile stretch, the approach from Aurora Park out to 25 Mile Road. I went out there, took a few pictures. There is quite a bit of a problem on the subsurface there. The county's been out to look at it. They tried to put in some patchwork. It was awful cold. They are looking at trying to come up with a more permanent temporary fix until they can do the pavement preservation program for this year. That is the top of the list of the priority for this year. We're waiting to get the cost estimates back from them on the asphalt paving program, and then we'll be presenting it to the board for their final approval for selection of the roads for this year.
We'll get that question in just a moment, but that Aurora Park section you were talking about, I actually went out there after you called me, and I bottomed out. It actually hit the bottom of my car. Yeah. So, yeah. Luckily, I was driving your car, township car. But anyway, we did get it fixed, so at least it's drivable. But I don't want you thinking that's the way it's going to be forever, because as soon as the weather breaks, we will have a more permanent fix. And then, of course, as she just said, it will be fully paved. So we're on that. Okay, Mr. Mancini, when is that? When are you going to start the paving? Can you give us a general idea as to when the paving actually begins on 24 Mile?
Well, the paving.
And I think the first one would be between Romeo Plank and Hayes Road. Is that correct?
Yeah, my understanding is that's scheduled to start in 2 weeks. So say 2 to 3 weeks. They're working on getting ready for paving as we speak, and I think the actual pavings is in 2 to 3 weeks.
Okay.
This looks like you're
Everybody, tell you what, let's do this, because again, when you're sitting back there, nobody from home can hear you. So who wants to go next? I know we got a lot of questions. Everybody's going to have a chance. Come on up, ma'am. Yeah.
Hi, Lynn Free, 7501 24 Mile. I'm the third house west of Van Dyke on 24, and I just want to commend you because I really think you guys are doing a great job. My house was ground zero for 3 months. I had no use of my driveway, was driving down the sidewalk. Your road crew was astronomical on getting me in and out of my house. The roads are a mess, especially after the rain now, where I drive an older car as well, and it's, pretty rickety on the road. My concern with paving 24 between Mound and Van Dyke too soon is that in the morning between 6 and 8 o'clock, there has to be 15 of those 18-wheelers going up to the corner dumping. So to me, if you're using those 18-wheelers to work on project down between, Shelby and DeQuinder, and you're going to keep accessing that road, if you pave it and then you're driving those trucks down it, then, it's a waste of our taxpayer money in my mind. My concern right now is that between the sidewalk and the ditches, they came and dug the ditches last week. I have some grass and some dirt. They came and picked up the big stuff. I can't mow that lawn, and, it is up to me as a homeowner to keep the grass up as well. So are they going to come and, debris the rest of that grass for us to be able to mow that section?
Yeah, and thank you for that compliment. I think we do have some really skilled crews out there, and we're proud of them. But and we will take these complaints very seriously and get them corrected. I might be confused a little bit. Some of the work is probably temporary just to make sure that we got good drainage for rain events. But the permanent restoration that will come after the asphalt paving it'll be mow quality restoration. If it's not where you can't mow it right now, maybe we can send a crew back through to kind of clean it up a little bit. It's still not going to be permanent. The final product will be after the asphalt, and that will be, sidewalk right away to right away. And if we get out of the right away, we'll also have to repair that. But the finished product will come after the asphalt. A lot of what they're doing now is just making sure we got good positive drainage. With regard to the trucks, it's my understanding that the Road Commission is not going to allow us to drive on that finished quality product. And that's one of the challenges of going mile to mile, or sometimes actually several miles. Keep in mind we still have to test the main, we have to chlorinate it, we have to get a bacterial test on it, we have to do all the valve structures. So the way I believe the project is set up is once we go to put finish paving on that road, there will be no heavy semis, trains. If I'm not mistaken, I think that's one thing the Road Commission is asking us to try to prevent, use the major north-south roads as much as possible. So that road has to be, when we're done, and we have I think at least a 1-year maintenance and guarantee, it has to be, to the highest standard, to the Road Commission standards.
Okay, so if you're right now between Shelby and DeQuinder, and you're doing the boring there, which may take a couple of months, that means that 24 may not be paved for the summer then?
No, all the boring is complete except for the M53 crossing.
Okay.
So
The Newland has not been done yet. Newland.
I thought they just M53, the highway. We're actually not we're going under the road, under 24 Mile Road, but between the bridge abutments, literally under the center of the road. And those shafts will be in the center of the road. Those shafts will take up the entire road. So 24 Mile Road under the M53 expressway will be closed for several months. And I believe that's scheduled for July, right around July 1, or maybe June, either mid-June or by no later than July 1. We need to have that work. Actually, the work has to be complete by July 1. For the open cut crew.
Okay, so they're done with the boring then down by Rochester, between Shelby and Rochester?
I believe they're done with the boring. I believe they recovered the machine. In fact, the machine's at our shop now, and they're doing the connections with the open cut crews. So if I'm not mistaken, that was the last tunnel except for the M53 tunnel.
Okay, so the trucks that are using that, accessing that road right now, what are they being used for, hauling the big loads of dirt in that?
Well, again, I believe if you're talking about the tunnel crew that just finished, it would be for that operation. They're hauling the spoil and the shaft for the.
Okay, because even this morning, they're still,
Yeah.
hauling stuff out, is the way I see it. They're all going east toward the corner 24 and Van Dyke.
Yeah, my understanding is they're actually still working there probably as we speak today, and I'm not sure, maybe another week they'll have of work there.
Okay.
Then they're going to follow right up with the road work, I would imagine. So.
Okay. I know that there's been a lot more traffic through my area, so it has to be open somewhat, because the local traffic has been very minimal since the project started in November, and probably the last 3 weeks to a month, there's been a lot more traffic on that road. It seemed like the condition of the road was much better back then, and it really has deteriorated quite a bit. And then after any rains, of course, we start getting the potholes and everything. But one thing I noticed too is, you have cars and trucks that don't really care too much for their vehicle, and they're doing 40 miles an hour down there.
Right.
So,
right. And keep in mind, we did just come off a very cold winter, which meant there's a lot of frost in the ground. Coming through the frost laws is probably the most difficult time of year. That's when the road takes the biggest amount of abuse. The good news is, part of our job, we're going to completely redo the sub-base. We're going to redo the road base. Originally this job was set up to only get the westbound lane with new base aggregate and base asphalt. We've changed the project, and now the entire road is going to get new aggregate, new base asphalt, and new topping asphalt. So you're going to have a new road. But again, the frost, what we call the frost law period, which is when the frost is coming out of the ground, is when the road takes the biggest toll.
Right.
So, and I personally will be spending a lot of time next week making sure this road is in good shape.
okay, appreciate that very much. Thank you.
Yep.
Okay, yes, sir.
Hi, my name is Kevin Toomey. I live at 7225 24 Mile Road, just west of Van Dyke. My question is, when this job is close to being completed, is there any thought about the ditches being eliminated? I have a ditch in front of my house. My neighbor next door does not have a ditch. Well, he's got a ditch, but it's covered over. Has there been any thought in that? Because what I have in front of my house now, and I have had for years, is just a mosquito nest.
Yeah.
The drain, in fact, the other day my ditch was about half filled with dirt from the project, and they cleaned it out. But when they did, the flow, whatever you call it, where the water comes through, is half filled with dirt. So it's.
If we disturb the ditch, I'm sure we'll improve. There'll be an improvement. In other words, we'll put it back to where it's flowing correctly, at least as best as the drainage system, the culverts and the elevations will allow. But unfortunately, this job is not I'm not sure what the right word is. It's not a full reconstruct where they've designed new storm sewers and new closing ditches. So I do not believe maybe in isolated areas there might be some ditch improvement, but otherwise it's going to be put back to existing.
Okay, if in fact an individual wanted to have it done, is there any people to talk to that you could?
I believe you'd have to start with the township and the road commission. I mean, you'd really have to talk to somebody at the road, probably George or somebody at the road. Is that?
Because I would really like to eliminate it if I could, because it's just been in bad weather. I have cars in the ditch, and in the spring I have a lot of water in the ditch.
Sure. And my recommendation is give the township and give the road commission a call. Probably start with the road commission.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. Come on.
Got an answer to yours. I called. They said they won't. Jeff Rogan, see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 24 Mile Road, which is that away. in between Shelby Parkway and Shaner. You're going to be there starting about June, and probably going to be there through about the end of August, it sounds like. Okay.
Shaner to Shelby, yeah. We'll
Shelby
probably,
Parkway to Shaner.
yeah, I think we're going to be crossing,
You're going to be on the other side of the expressway, so.
yep.
Okay, because I'm one of the lucky ones that gets to keep my toys behind my house. So I have a 34-foot fifth-wheel travel trailer, and I have a boat. I better get them the hell out of there, shouldn't I? Because I'm never going to get them out of there once you start digging up 24 Mile Road.
You might need the boat.
I certainly
And I
think,
live on the north side, too.
yeah, I certainly think you should not have a problem. I mean, there may be that day where we're in front of your home, it could get difficult, but I strongly encourage you to talk to my project manager, Ryan, and if you see anything that concerns you, talk to him. We'll make some special arrangements to make sure you can get
I'm
in
willing to
there.
get that stuff out of there because I can see if you're going to take out the northbound lane, because we have the ditches. So all we have to cross over on the 24 miles, we have our little bridge, we call it, for our driveways. So it isn't like I'm going to go around anything. And when I was thinking about our ditches, will you be taking out our drives also there?
I'm not sure specifically where you're at, but, most of the time, the drive approaches between the sidewalk and the roadway are not.
We don't have sidewalks either.
Yeah, typically they're not removed. The pipe is far enough away, but if they get damaged, they're going to get removed and
Yeah,
replaced.
I can assume that, because I tried to guess what was going to happen by what was going on at Romeo Plank, but Romeo Plank doesn't have ditches like we do.
And it's hard to predict because there's some areas of this job where in excess of 20, 25 feet deep. There's other areas where 12 feet deep. It's just the hydraulics of conflicts and going under utilities. Some of these trenches are very deep and literally almost the whole width of the road wide. That's how deep, but
Just so I
some
can
aren't.
try to keep myself aware, when you start to do construction, being that I'm on that side, will you start at Shaner and work your way this way, or will you start at Shelby Parkway and come this way? So I have a good idea when you're starting something to get my stuff out of there.
Well, the crew that you're referring to, I think, is east of Shaner, moving west. And they're going to cross.
They're not there right now, but they're doing all that metal re-rod, building those cages. We got them all across the lawns and stuff, so.
And Mr. Mancini, we'll have that up on the website.
Correct.
Well, it's good if you have the internet.
Well, then I'll tell you what. Call my office, and we'll tell you what's on a website, and we'll answer those questions for you.
And the only other question I have for you is, I also happen to work on 24 Mile Road, and I also drive an 18-wheeler, and I have the damnedest backup job you have to do with an 18-wheeler right here on the corner, 24 Mile and Van Dyke. What's going to happen just this side of Van Dyke in the first probably 100 yards? Because I'm going to take a vacation when you guys are there.
Well, again, I don't have the plan sheets with me to know how deep it is, but you kind of get an idea of what you've seen so far is what you're going to see there. I mean, the Van Dyke crossing is obviously a weekend crossing. We have to work round the clock to get across Van Dyke on a weekend. So we'll probably work right up to as close to Van Dyke as we can get.
Right across in those dirt piles is where I have to turn around and pull in and back in.
Yeah.
So. And
again, if there's anything we can do to help accommodate your 18-wheeler, I strongly encourage you to.
Not mine.
Or whoever's. But we'd be happy to meet you out there, and Brian, and even if myself, if necessary.
Hey, you can back it in for me.
Yeah. Well, I don't know if I could do that, but.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
And then I'll go over here.
I live between Shelby Road and DeQuinder. And it's been mentioned by the gentleman back there about the sudden road closure, total closure, that's happened just west of Shelby Road. Can I just ask that please be talked about on this website or whatever, this update? Because we just got, as it says, it closed indefinitely. So that's what I think we're talking about, closed all the way from DeQuinder all the way to Van Dyke. It's because that's a total road closure. It's not just eastbound going, it's east and west.
What's that?
It seems like no one seems to know about that up here, so.
But that's the one that's complete, if I'm not,
Almost done.
it's almost complete. Yeah, there's no indefinite closure, and we'll have it up on the website by Friday, specifics as to when those roads, the anticipated closure and opening date, so that you can have a better feel for when, and then when it's going to be open to eastbound only. But I think it's called the Noonan Drain closure.
Newland.
Newland, yes.
Okay, and then, because before at the last town hall meeting, they said they weren't going to get to that part between Shelby Road and DeQuinder until very late in the project, and all of a sudden we've got a closed road. So are they going to keep working on that now, or are they just going to let it open all the way up until they get to that portion?
Yeah, that'll reopen until the open cut. There was two different operations, and there's going to be a third operation. There's going to be the valve structures that are going to come late fall, early winter, into the winter, where we put all these big valves, connection valves. So there are, you may have, or we may have misspoken in saying that the open cut crew will come later in the season, but the tunnel crew and then the valve crews are separate crews. And those are the crews that require the full road closure, just because there's just not enough room.
But it's not going to go to just east only after they fix this one thing over the drain. It's just going to go back to normal until you guys get to that point where you have to go eastbound only.
I believe so, but we'll confirm that and make sure it's on the website. But I believe so, correct.
Okay, thank you.
I have talked with Ryan over the course of the earlier today, and it's my understanding that Newland Drain should be open about middle of next week. So that,
Because looking at it, it doesn't look real good, but,
my understanding is he plans to have that open by the middle of next week. Yes.
Hi, my name is Kevin O'Reilly, and I was here in September. I'd like to know, Shannon, maybe you can answer, is there an update on the safety crossing just west or east of DeQuinder?
I just received a cost estimate from the Macomb County Department of Roads yesterday on what it would take to do that, and I need to communicate that back to the Township Board of Trustees and see where they want to go with that.
Could you give us an idea whether it's going to be done?
Not without having a conversation with the Township Board. I know the cost estimate that I just received yesterday said that the increased cost for that crossing would be about $140,000.
All right. To me, it's a drop in the bucket compared to a lawsuit if it isn't done, okay? Because if this entire project is finished with all the massive engineering and they can't simply widen it for 150, 200, you know the lawsuit will be much more than that. So I really urge everyone, find the money and save us taxpayers money in the future for a lawsuit. Okay? Thanks.
Yeah, and I just want to say, this Board of Trustees has spent, together with the federal money, the state money, county money, and Shelby Township, something like about $35 million since 2008. So we have not been shy about spending money on pieces of improvements like you're talking about. I can't speak on behalf of the board. I can't speak on anything because I haven't seen the report. But we do share your we have the same passion that you do, making our roads not only as nice as we can, but as safe as possible, too. So we will be taking a look at it, and if you give me your name and phone number, I'll call you when that comes up on the agenda. Okay? Thank you very much. Yes, sir.
Hi, my name's Dave Porter. I live one block west of Mound on Brighton Street, right on 24. I was going to ask you if you had a punch card for taking all the yellow ribbons off the high levels of the trees before you completed construction, because I had ones about 20 feet up, but last night your backhoe managed to crack it and took care of it for me, except that I first called Owen Tree this morning and said, you're not really involved with the tree removal, the person I talked to. I talked to your line supervisor out there, says, do you have a chainsaw to cut it down? Yeah, he had a chainsaw, but he didn't have a ladder. Okay, well, when we have a ladder, because it's cracked, it's over the sidewalk, okay? No response. Went to our supervisor. He got it done today, okay, within an hour when I went to see him. So the one thing I've noticed is that when they came out and they did all the tree trimming, and I talked to the tree trimmers, said they were to go white line to white line. That was it. Your backhoe has a fanny pack, and when you swing it south, you're taking out quite a bit of brush there, okay? Now, the tree limb that they did take down, it's about like this. It's probably 17 to 20 feet long. Would have measured it, but it's in a ditch right now full of water, okay? And that's not where it belongs, okay? It needs to be taken out, disposed of. That ditch full of water is also full of silt. At Dryden, you have probably the lowest drainage point along 24 Mile Road. Water that flows in from the west through that drainage at Dryden. Higher, the land is higher on the other side before we had the silt issue, because you're pumping silt out of your ditches, out of your excavations, okay? And I know, hey, you know, you've got to do it, got to keep it dry. I don't have a problem with that. I really don't have a problem with you knocking off the limb either. So I expected that, you know, I mean, it happened. So, but that silt needs to be removed pretty expeditiously, I'd say. Right now, my neighbor to the west of me, he has a ditch, but beyond him, there's a culvert. They've got it covered. I looked, and the silt is actually above, almost to the top of that culvert coming out. So
I'll take a look at those issues, the trees, the silt. I haven't been on that site. I was on that site yesterday, but I won't be there tomorrow, but I will definitely Monday take a look at these
also
items.
Maybe need to take the compactor to that part of the shoulder right close to Dryden, because when your backhoe was coming across, it collapsed it like me having a cream puff and squeezing it, okay? It did. And it probably needs to be compacted down before it does collapse into that area before the culvert. As far as what you might be able to do is, because the drainage across that goes under Dryden is lower than the further east portion that it flows into, is to while the road is torn up, and I understand that the county is going to have to come back a little ways. This is according to their inspector that's been out there. They have to come back into Dryden a little bit. They've got some pretty good cracks there that they're going to just have to take care of. And to replace that culvert so it doesn't run downhill so much, okay, so it's more level coming out, because the east end of that culvert is always underwater. And it flows into a larger culvert by the dental offices, and it barely trickles in there. So something needs to be done, okay? You're using a generator and a pump to keep it dry in the excavations. I think that maybe you either need the generator on the same side of the sidewalk that the pumps are on. Running a cord across there without having it taped down is a trip hazard just waiting to happen. That was how they happened to catch the limb, was they were taking the generator that was on the north side of the sidewalk to move it further up the workstation. But you've got a cord running from that generator, runs across the sidewalk, and either needs to be taped down, I think you would agree with that, or have the generator on the street side.
And this is on Dryden Road? I'll take a look at that.
It is just west of Mound Street, okay? And at the last meeting, we discussed a little bit about parking. You may not remember, but I do. I just wondered, do your employees really need to park on the grassy portion of the people's tended yards? So I got two more here. On May 6th, they were parked on both sides on Dryden. I could get through, a pickup could get through, but I doubt if a fire engine could get through, okay? And it was a white Escalade, if you want to point the finger at somebody who may have been out there. So it may not have even been your person, but it came when your guys came, and it left when your guys left. So, and you also probably need to advise them that they're not supposed to be parking in front of fire hydrants. Okay. I had a neighbor just up the road from me, one house on the other side. He lost his life in a fire, okay? So I'm kind of cognizant of this, okay? And you had pickups the last 2 days on Dryden parked right in front of the fire hydrant. And I think now that our esteemed township supervisor knows about it. They may have some police cars making some passes through there.
And certainly feel free to, when I hear of these types of issues, I completely agree.
Yeah.
Feel free to call my office, call me direct.
Okay.
I'll take calls, I'll return calls. I've had several calls over the past week, and I also had calls from Mr. Stathka. So please feel free to call me personally at our office.
Okay. And finally, not finally, but the first one, the caissons that you've been putting in, you went down, I think, more than 16 feet, I was told, last meeting I was here. And you've been doing some real good pounding to get the sidewalls down to protect your employees, not a problem. But they have been shaking the houses pretty steadily. I claim my house is probably closer than most of the houses on 24 Mile. And this is the first time I've ever, in 22 years, I've had the floor start to creak and pop on me. And that's not acceptable. I used to do construction when I was going through college. We made sure that it was nailed so heavily that it would never, ever creak. And I find that unacceptable. That's not going to be an issue. So.
Yeah, if you believe you've had damage to your residence, please call Ryan. Let him know. Ryan Stallneck, our project manager, and or you can call my office and even talk to me. I just need your address. What I'll do is forward it over to the insurance company. They'll come out and look at it and assess it. And if we've damaged your residence, we'll have to.
I'm willing to wait and see if everything settles. So
sure.
If the ground settles, it goes away fine. But also, I think this has been brought up before, but the road maintenance, I drove drove right down 24 Mile tonight, and it does need a little bit of gravel in certain potholes just to kind of maintain it until you do get the asphalt, the layers down. It needs a little bit of work. Grew up in Iowa. I know what gravel roads are like. But I do know they need to be maintained. So
yeah, and again, and I agree, and our commitment is to maintain a road. If there's a problem, please call me. Give me a location, and I'll be out there. If not the same day, the very next.
Pretty much, if you drive down between Van Dyke and Mound, you both ways, especially going eastbound, you'll find that. And you're talking about compacting everything. It'd be good for those loaded trucks to go down that north side lane of 24. You talk about compacting things down. Instead of putting barrels up there to keep them off of it, let them drive down through that. So.
Okay, thank you, sir. Mr. Earl Weber from Cherry Creek Golf Course.
Weber Cherry Creek Golf Club. My concern mirrors this young lady's concern when you do start your work at the Van Dyke and 24 intersection, and you talk about that being weekend through the night kind of work. Is there going to be actual stoppage of traffic north and south on Van Dyke when you are crossing over the road there? Is that intersection going to be shut down completely, or are people still going to be able to traverse north on Van Dyke and then turn east on 24 Mile Road so that they'll have access to Maystecker Park as well as Cherry Creek Golf Club?
My understanding is those are full closures. Yeah, weekend closures. We have to close. I forget the time, but at some time Friday night it's a full closure and has to be open, I think, at 7 or 8 o'clock Monday morning. So it will be a full closure of Van Dyke.
And we have dates on that posted? I mean, we have events sold for every weekend for the rest of the summer.
The Van Dyke crossing, I think, is almost into the that's at the very end of Crew 1. So I don't have that on the schedule if you want to pull that out.
Yeah, I'm going to need to know what those dates are, because we're going to have to inform people and obviously block. If people can't gain access to the club, then is there an alternative route?
I'm sure they're going to be able to gain access. I think I'd have to get the traffic plan. If you want to maybe give me a call or give Ryan a call.
I have talked to Ryan, and I'll compliment him. He's been very helpful. I've talked to him on a bi-weekly basis for updates.
Yeah, there will be
speed, but he was uncertain as to what that traffic plan would be when you do have to cross Van Dyke.
Yeah, and I'll look at that. That's important to make sure. And if you want to follow up with Ryan, we'll make sure. And we can even meet with him on site if you'd like.
Yeah.
To make sure you know exactly. Our tentative date is, do you have the tentative?
Around November this year.
Yeah, so around November, you could expect, November, December, you can expect that crossing. And certainly, we will provide access. How, I don't know, but we
So
will
there will be
provide
some way for somebody to get
to your business.
eastbound to our business.
Correct.
Okay.
Yes.
That
But
answers my concern.
feel free to follow up with Ryan.
But you're thinking, because originally that was October, but I know that the frost issues, and Ryan did say, it kind of kicked everything back about 21, 28 days, and everything's just.
Yeah.
So he's been keeping me informed, and believe me, later is better than earlier for us.
Yeah, that's the end of the Crew 1 production, and we're anticipating both crews to be complete by December, the end of December, and we're still on schedule to do that. So I don't see any reason why that isn't going to be right around that November timeframe.
Perfect. Thank you.
Charlotte McFarland. I live at 14175 24 Mile Road. So I'm between Hayes and Shaner, so all the trucks are kind of like in front of my house right now. My mailbox was taken out and they tied it around the telephone pole around my house, but I haven't gotten any mail all week long. So I was kind of wondering what I should do about that. I haven't gotten any notices from the post office. When I called today, it was already too late. It was 3 o'clock.
What's your address again?
14175 24 Mile Road.
Let me find out. I mean, there's no reason for that mailbox not to be put back.
Yeah, I mean, it's tied right now, but that's
Yeah.
kind of where they're working right now. And then they cut my gas line this week too, but they already fixed that. So that was okay. And then my ground is shaking pretty much too, but I haven't had I don't think any issues with that. But the main thing right now is the mailbox.
Yeah, I'll make sure your mailbox is put back, at least as a temporary basis, but I'm not sure where your mail is. You're probably going to need to call the post office. I'm sure they have it.
That was my next thing, because I haven't gotten anything since Saturday, so.
Yeah.
Okay.
I apologize for that, but I'll get on it.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Roger Cinco. I live in a subdivision between Jewel and Shaner, and based on some of the questions here, you were talking about closing the road. There are 3 streets that have no other access to get out other than 24 Mile Road. So I want to make sure that that section of 24 Mile doesn't get closed altogether.
No, there will never be a time where people cannot get to their residence. There are occasions when a driveway is literally right in front of the trench, and we either make a temporary driveway, or we talk to the homeowner to see if they can either move their vehicle or not need to use their driveway through a short period of time. But none of the subdivisions or none of the residents will be denied access to the subdivisions.
So the Van Dyke 24 Mile closure is not going to take place at the same time the M53 overpass, or
No, that'll be almost probably 6 months separation, 5 months anyhow.
Okay. And my other question was the reconstruction of the road. Is it going to be, as it was, a 2-lane road, or are you going to be adding a 3rd left turn lane?
I'm not aware of any additions. I know the Township and the Road Commission were talking about doing something different right at Van Dyke, some improvement. But as far as the project, our project, we're putting the road back pretty much as it was. There's some adjustments to the grades. We're going to hopefully have a more improved sloping and grading of the road, but same width.
I've been here for 39 years, and I've I can now get out of my subdivision, which is kind of nice. I like the roads closed and because it takes 5 to 6 minutes to get out of our subdivision when the roads are open. But the other question is, I live in a subdivision off of Haywald. When that subdivision was done 39 years ago, they didn't put a passing lane. Will those be added? We just had an accident this past, within the last 8 months or so, year or so, where you're standing there waiting to turn left and you get plowed in the back end. And there's been a lot of close calls.
This is, again, I know there has been, Rick might be able to answer this question. I know there has been some talk of adding some wide lane widenings. Is this location one of them, Rick? This is something between, I think, the road.
There's another
commission.
one right at Cherry Creek on the going westbound. There isn't a passing lane on the right side, and cars back up, and you hear squealing tires and what have you.
I'm not aware of any lane widening or passing lanes that are part of this project. What's coming out is going back in. It's just going back in full width rather than half width. Rather than just paving the north section of the road, they're going to do a full width pavement from north to south side. But no changes in the geometrics are proposed, with the exception of a small area east and west of Van Dyke on 24 in the DDA area. They've asked us to prepare a draft plan that I need to sit down with Rickman on and see if the costs are doable.
So the passing lanes are not going to be put in?
It's my understanding that the project is whatever is taken out is being put back in according to the existing layout it was before it was removed.
Okay.
And those type of things probably should be directed toward the road commission.
Okay.
If that's something
right.
you want to make them aware of.
Yeah, okay. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Sure. 53241 Odilon. Our street is a dead-end street, so we have no other alternative but to go out on 24 Mile Road. Fortunately, we have classic cars. In the summertime, we really look forward to taking them out and car shows and so forth and so on. Can't do that. Between Mound and Van Dyke, the road is deplorable with the mud, the dust, the rocks, the dirt. You said there's no date to have it set to have it paved? As you do for Romeo Plank to Hayes?
I don't have it in front of me. Do you have that?
It's around the end of May, early June for
Okay, so we
paving.
won't have to wait very much longer then.
Right, no, you know.
Okay, I appreciate it.
Yeah, once we get enough pipe to do basically we got to get between two valves so that we can pressure test. We're not allowed to pave until we test to make sure there's no leaks. Once that's accomplished, then we start going into the paving program. And I think
Yeah, it has been tested
that section's
and
been
passed.
tested.
Yeah.
So now that's one of the next sections to be paved. So that should happen here soon.
Okay. Thank you, I appreciate it.
You're welcome.
Actually directed to Kay. Tom Labadie, 4960 24 Mile Road. Kay, I know you've cut down and trimmed the trees on the north side of 24 Mile. When do you plan on trimming the south side?
That's going to be as an as-needed basis. So we are hoping that we won't have to do a whole lot to the south side, but it's going to depend on the equipment and how they maneuver.
Okay, so.
And sometimes that
some of
trimming
them-
happens as a bump on the tree and it breaks, and then we'll go clean it up.
Right.
Yeah.
Because the trees in front of my house all have the yellow ribbons.
That was all just, this could be an issue, is there, just for everybody's awareness. So that you
Okay.
know,
So
this-
with safety.
we might have to trim those.
Okay.
We'll see.
And again, I would like to keep the wood.
Oh, okay. All right.
So,
Okay.
thank you.
My name is Carol Miller, and I'm not sure exactly who would be the one to speak to on this, but I live off Mound between 25 and 24 Mile. The last 2 years have been horrible. You close, we get Van Dyke closed, we get 25 Mile closed, everybody has to go down 24 Mile. Last summer, it became too dangerous to make a left-hand turn. I had to start finding different ways to get home. It's the same thing now. You can't come across 25 Mile and make a left-hand turn onto Mound. It is next to impossible. You're taking your life in your hands to do it. Who is going to, everybody in this community, we are taking our lives in our hands at 25 and Mound. I went through there Tuesday night and made a turn onto Mound, right-hand turn. The light was turning red when I got to it. 2 cars behind me just sped on through the light and kept on going. Nobody stops for the yellow lights. They barely stop for the red lights. And people are sitting there in the middle of the road trying to make a left-hand turn. It is very dangerous. We've got Eisenhower there. We've got Mallow there. You've got everybody trying to get home. You've got all the bus drivers, the teachers, everybody else trying to get places. It is just too dangerous. You take all these roads away from the people that are trying to get home and do all of these things, and you don't give them any alternatives, and there are no turn lights anywhere. It's very dangerous, and I feel like I'm taking my life into my hands every day if I try. I'm not going to go that way anymore. I can't. You cannot. I don't know how you're going to get any place. My dentist is half a mile down, and I'm going to have to go 5 miles out of my way to get to my dentist office now, because I can't go down Mound through all the ruts and the mud. When you have classic cars, you can't do that. So who do I voice this to? Every year now, for 2 years, we've had the same thing.
I believe the issue last year was the construction on 25 Mile. There was construction from 25 Mile from Van Dyke to Mound was a total reconstruction.
And then Van Dyke from 25 to 26 took everywhere we could go away from us.
Right, and unfortunately last year was kind of an oddity because some projects that were supposed to take place in earlier years were held up due to federal funding, and so it was unfortunate, but all of those projects came due at the same time. Those are all open now. I believe they're doing some work on Van Dyke between 25 and 26, but there are no road closures involved. So right now, the only issue we're dealing with is road closures on 24 Mile Road with the DWSD project. The concern
But everybody
with
used to go those roads. You can't go that road now. And so everybody has to find a different way. And it is too dangerous. And there are no left-hand turn lanes. There's turn lanes, but there's no lights.
I don't know that. I think it's safe to say that there's no way we're going to be able to get the Macomb County Department of Roads to install a temporary left turn light or signal. What we may be able to do is have some conversations with Mr. Stathakis in the police department and see if we can get some police officers out there to kind of police what's going on and make sure people are observing the existing light situation so that you can finish a turn when you're on a yellow. You're not worried about people running the yellow lights, and we can see if we can attach things that way.
I was at the gas station when school was getting out one day. The police were there at the beginning because they didn't have the road all opened yet. So all of that traffic was all trying to get through, buses and everything else. The police were there and they were directing traffic. I was getting gas. Came around, needed to go out and get onto Mound. Police had just left. Bam, crash, right in front of me, accident.
Make a suggestion. We're talking about Mound and 25, right?
Yes, it's dangerous.
East and westbound, I take it occasionally. I try to avoid it. But if you have the lights altered, so bound is first for 10 seconds, left-hand turns get made. The westbound stays green for an extra 10 seconds so people can clear. You're not going to have another light, but you're going to have to change the timing.
And that's an issue we'll have to take up with the Macomb County Department of Roads.
And it goes from the whole time between like 2 o'clock when Eisenhower gets out all the way through to 7 o'clock. It isn't just a few hours.
And by the way,
Because you've
really
got
went through a lot.
school,
I know you
you've
did.
got Eisenhower, then you've got Mallow letting out, then you've got all the teachers leaving, and then you've got rush hour traffic starting.
I'd like to say it goes all the way to DeQuinder. Just there the other night at 5 o'clock, and I probably waited 10 minutes, make a left hand.
I guess I would.
Turn lane from 23 Mile North.
Somebody needs to look at the
That's a
traffic.
conversation that I'll definitely be having with Macomb County Department of Roads in the morning. I'll let Rick know and Mr. Stathis
And I would
can get it on the
encourage you to
website.
call also, just so they know, if enough people call, let's, that usually gets some attention. So I would encourage you to let them know.
Because I will have to go all the way north now on Van Dyke to get out to 26 Mile, do all the Michigan turnarounds, and then come down Mound because it's just too dangerous to make a left-hand turn there.
Yeah.
Just too dangerous. And that's the only way that you can go because you can't go south because then you've got Mud Road coming north on Mound.
I'd like to just add to that, there are no detour signs on DeQuinder, 25, 23. You go on Van Dyke and there's all kinds of detour signs. Somebody needs to
Ma'am,
address
that's not
us
working.
between Shelby and
Excuse me.
DeQuinder.
Dennis, if you're going to talk, please go up to the microphone.
All right.
And we lost our moderator, Rick. I think he's out talking to one of the residents.
I talked to Brad probably 2 weeks ago about the traffic situation. The sign out by 24 Mile in DeQuinder says, road closed to traffic, seek alternate route. There's no signs anywhere on DeQuinder, 25, 23. You see signs when you're coming down 23 Mile Road going west that talk about the road closures between Van Dyke and Mound. There is nothing out our way. They abruptly shut down the road between Shelby and DeQuinder about 3 weeks ago. Nobody was told anything except, it's only going to be for a couple days and it will reopen. So I would really appreciate on this website that you address between Shelby Road and DeQuinder and what's going on, what to do. People are confused. Our roads don't go through. The subdivision across the street is like a maze to get through. It's very confusing. And I know my neighbors have all said the same thing. We see traffic, they're going fast, they don't know where they're going, they can't get through, the roads don't connect. So I hope you'll address the road problems that are going on as a result of these abrupt closures.
Yeah, I'll personally have some meetings, internal meetings.
Somebody should be driving
Making
those
sure.
roads and seeing what we all see, which is the same thing as the lady just spoke up here. I'm glad she brought it up because it leads me into that, is what a dangerous nightmare it is. And then what's going to happen if we can only go eastbound? You're going to have all of us going in the same direction. Where do we all go? How are people even going to get out of their streets that live close to the lights? I think somebody's going to have to look at that before they start closing the roads and having us only be able to go eastbound. Somebody needs to help us so we can maneuver through our neighborhood. Thank you.
Hi, how are you?
Good.
I'm
Good
John
evening.
Wayne. I am on 24 Mile between Mound and Van Dyke, 6615, specifically, directly across from the Lutheran Church. The first thing that I wanted to say was to compliment your crew on the work that they've already done. They were in front of our home maybe 2 weeks ago, and they couldn't have been more courteous, kind. They did a great job on the project, but they also did a great job on letting us in and letting us out to obviously live our daily lives. So they did a great job with that. This was already asked and answered, I believe, but I just wanted to confirm the paving on 24 between Mound and Van Dyke. You're right now you're looking at end of May, June timeframe. roughly?
Timeframe, yeah,
Okay.
around end of May, early June. Yeah.
Okay, that's good enough. The second question that I had was, what is the procedure for the aprons, specifically between 24 Mile and the sidewalk? Before the project started, we had a blacktop apron that was between 24 Mile and the sidewalk. About 2 feet of that was removed in order for them to put the pipe and excavate. How does that work? with regard to replacing that?
You know, I can't.
Case-by-case basis, or?
Yeah, I got to believe it's going to be, typically it's to the road commission standards. So depending on how much of the apron was removed or damaged will determine, you know, the road commission will come through and they'll paint or they'll mark what has to be done to meet their standards. And I don't know that off the top of my head, but
right.
Typically if a certain percentage of it is damaged, you know, it gets replaced. All damaged obviously gets replaced, but depending on how much is damaged will determine as to how far they replace it back toward the sidewalk.
So then it could be a partial replacement, or it could be a full replacement, and obviously at this point we're just not sure.
I'm not sure, but I know the road commission is, and you know, what they do is they'll come through and we're doing the grading and they'll mark it based on whether it's damaged or how much of it was removed as to how much gets replaced. But it will be replaced in accordance. Sometimes I know they're doing some wedging to improve the drainage. And there's some millings that are being done, but I can't be specific on each apron for each approach as to how much will get replaced.
No, I understand that. I just wanted to know if there was a general guideline, or if, you know, it was like, well, each one of them are going to be done, or partially, or back to some sort of standard.
Because this is a water main project and not a road project, it's not a full replacement. It's replace what's damaged in accordance with the county's guidelines. So you can't look at this like a new road project where they're going to go from right away to right away in new construction. The funding's not in place for that. So this is just going to be replace what's damaged.
Right.
And so I would anticipate most aprons will not be replaced.
Okay. Now, who is the point of contact regarding that issue specifically?
I mean, the best thing to do would be if you happen to notice when the road commission is out there, just prior to the paving, when they're doing the grading, you can go out and inquire, talk, see what that is, or you can call the road commission and see if they'd answer questions. But it's probably easiest to meet with the inspectors as you can start to see the road activity begin.
Okay. Now, let me ask you a follow-up question regarding that. In your experience, if you take a look at the apron and they say, well, 10% of that was taken out, so we're going to replace 10%, would it be my option as a homeowner to say, well, look, I'll pay for the full replacement from street to sidewalk while you're out here doing the rest of this work? Would I be able to do that?
I believe so. I mean, again, I can check with Ryan, or you can follow up and give Ryan or give myself a call, and specifically we can meet you out there and then bring it to the road commission and say, hey, you would like to do this. You could replace your whole driveway if you'd like. I don't think the county would prevent you from doing that, I guess is my point. So,
right. Well, I guess the question was, instead of just putting a patch in to make it usable, it's a small piece from 24 to the sidewalk. If it's a few hundred and they're already there.
Yeah, you can give myself a call. I can coordinate with Ryan, or if you have Ryan's number, you have the field office number handy?
Yeah, I don't have anyone's number, frankly.
Ryan?
I can give you Ryan's number if you'd like. Probably the best thing to do is give Ryan a call.
And he's the project manager.
He's a project manager for Rickman, and he can coordinate where you can meet with him and the road commission out there.
Okay.
But give me 1 second here, and I'll give you that number. His number is 810-459-0508.
810-459-0508.
Correct.
Okay.
And if you have any troubles, just give me a call. I don't know if you have our office number.
No, sir, I don't.
It's 586-739-5210.
5210.
Correct.
Got it. Okay, thank you for your help.
Yeah, if you don't get the support, give me a call. I'll meet you out there and I'll get
care of that. But I appreciate the contacts and the information. And again, like I said, your guys have been great.
Thank you.
You really have. I mean, there was a couple of times I came home early. I made coffee, and I had 8, 9 guys. Everything's been good.
Oh, good. I'm glad to hear that. Thank you.
But 24 is still a mess, but it is what it is at this point.
It's a tough project. It's deep, big pipe. This is a very difficult ground.
It really is. All right. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Richard Brewer. Do you know when they're going to pave 24 between DeQuinder and Shelby? You guys kind of talked about it, but you didn't give any kind of dates.
Between DeQuinder and Shelby would be really that's probably going to be the October, November.
Actually, that would be something.
May, so that possibly won't get paved this year.
Right.
Okay.
It might not?
It might not get paved this year, depending on, because that is the end of the project.
They're going to do both sides of the road and all the way to DeQuinder, right?
Correct. Does it paves to the pump station, or is it paved to DeQuinder?
To Rochester Station.
To the Rochester. It does not. The pavement does not go all the way to DeQuinder. It goes to the end of the project, which is at the Rochester pump station, which is just east of DeQuinder, by the bike path.
Oh, okay. So that last quarter mile, they're not going to do anything, right?
Not to my knowledge.
Because that's a mess, really.
Yeah.
You know. So, all right. I'll talk to the city about that.
Yeah.
All right.
And the county. That's really the county's.
Because it's really getting worse all the time. All right. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, I don't see any more hands, so we have one more? Oh, yes, ma'am. Come on up. Okay. Sorry.
Hi, my name is Ruth Jackson. I live at 5021 Eastbrook Court. I have no complaints. Your men have been very cordial, courteous, everything else. I'm through that section between Mound and Shelby, down Arthur. Now they're just bringing the pipe out, and they're putting it on the ground, placing it. And, okay, two things. The neighbors are all going to ask me, because I told them I was coming to this meeting, all right, you figure you're going to have those pipes in the ground by December, correct?
Between DeQuinder, I'm sorry.
Shelby and Mound. Because they're just past, putting them on the ground, past Venus.
Yeah, that should
we should be finishing by around July.
Having them
installing
installed?
Pipes in the ground.
Okay, because I know I can watch them keep bringing the gravel trains in, dumping them right at 4630, 4830. Right out of my kitchen, I can watch them dump them. Yeah. And now the last thing of it is, I know the road might not be done paved until, what you're figuring
sometime in August, September.
August, but then complete down the other end, not until probably next May. When does the water flow?
I'm sorry?
When are you going to have the water flowing through the pipe?
You're going to have your road complete with pavement, hopefully by around August this year.
Okay.
As far as pipe flowing,
The water flowing through the pipe, when you get it all checked and that.
we're working on actually a plan to connect the existing 36-inch
Right.
into the proposed one. And that is scheduled actually sometime after we test the last part, which would be from Shelby to Rochester.
Okay.
That would be sometime around May of next year.
Okay.
But this won't affect you because you still get the water
there's
through
still
the
water.
existing 36-inch.
Right. But they're going to ask me that too.
Right.
But I'm happy. I'm thrilled. I was thrilled when they took and oiled after they broke up the asphalt and all the dust was, and they oiled it. And I was like, yes.
Good.
As I say, life's good.
Well, and thank you for the compliment. I definitely do pass that along to the
Well-
crews. They do work hard and they appreciate the compliment. So, and we'll stay on top of the
Well, I always
complaints.
cut through the sub between 24 and 25, so
There you
it
go.
really, you don't want to be in their way anyway.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay, well, thank you. If there are no other questions, I want to thank you, Mr. Mancini, for coming here tonight. Mr. Jabbar, thank you very much. Mr. Sickeniter and Ms. Filaraki, thank you very much. And everybody here, I hope we answered all your questions. Look for that, the outline of dates of when these lanes are going to be open and closed, when the paving is going to be. I do want you to know, though, these will be estimated dates, but we'll take the best educated guesses as possible, and we will have that on the internet. Go to www.shelbytwp.org no later than next Friday. Okay? Thank you very much, everybody.
Thank you.
Good night.